Hello, welcome to my weekly update, and I've just come from a very interesting reception about air pollution and a speech by the Health Secretary Matt Hancock, emphasising how we need to do a lot more to clean up our air of the pollutants like nitrogen dioxide and the particulates, which can be responsible for so much ill health and premature death in this country. I'm particularly concerned around air quality levels around schools, and that's why I've opposed the part of the new Monks Farm project, which is actually looking at having a new school bang on the A27, which is just the worst place to do it. There's an environment bill which the government has produced in draft form. I'm really keen that we make sure we have the best, highest quality standards around air quality and other environmental concerns within that bill. It's something I've been very keen on. Now, nothing on Europe this week, as far as we know. The negotiations between the government and the Labour Party go on. They seem to be getting nowhere. Now there's talk of they won't accept anything unless there's a confirmatory vote, as they call it, effectively a second referendum. So just don't hold your breath on that one. I'm still unclear as to where this is going next, and it's becoming increasingly clear that the Prime Minister's position is untenable. So I think we're going to have a change of the tenant in number 10 before too long as well. There's a really important announcement today around domestic violence, against something that I have campaigned on for a long time. We have the draft domestic violence bill which the government produced earlier this year. It's currently going through a high-level joint scrutiny committee to make sure we get this legislation absolutely right. And today the government announced that as part of that legislation, it's going to be mandatory for all local authorities to have safe houses for people fleeing domestic violence. That we have them, but it's a bit of a postcode lottery at the moment. I think that's a really good development. Now, later in the week, we've got a series of debates on a whole manner of different subjects, on homophobia, on Islamophobia, on the probation and prison service, on the public health service, which I'm hoping to speak on. That's on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Wednesday morning, I'm going to be part of a panel on the Victoria Derbyshire show, which is dealing with family courts and the problems of acrimonious splits between couples and what happens to the future of the children, something I was involved with as children's minister. And then I've got receptions for various fishermen, a Singing for Syrians charity doing a lot to try and help Syrian refugees. We've also got a briefing on fair funding for schools. Yet again, and I've got a meeting with Gatwick Airport about their development plans there too. I've got a meeting with the RSPCA around animal cruelty. Just one word about last week. I mentioned that I was at a conference with parliamentarians from around the world in support of Tibet. There were 18 different countries with MPs, senators and others. We had a really good discussion around human rights abuses in Tibet by the Chinese. But there's also an very important environmental consideration here, because the Tibetan plateau, which is part of China geographically, and where so many people have been persecuted, is also a crucial part of the planet's environmental structure. The waters from the sources in the Tibetan plateau service some 40% of the world's population. On current forecasts, something like 3/4 of the glaciers in the Tibetan plateau will have melted by 2050, with huge impacts that can have. And yet the environmental destruction that China is waging in that part of the world is largely going unchecked. Some 70% of the lithium in the batteries in your mobile phone mined in Tibet by the Chinese, usually unsustainably. This is something we need to call out, and one of the things we agreed on is to urge the Dalai Lama to declare a climate emergency in Tibet and try and raise the profile of what is happening in that part of the world. So I'll be reporting on that in my next newsletter as well. I'm going to be away this weekend. I'm actually having a birthday break with my wife abroad, so I won't be at the street surgery on Saturday in Lancing. The councillors will be there to deal with any queries you've got, and I'll be back at my desk as usual on Monday and reporting on what I'm up to next week, which I think might be a more eventful week.